What's going on, boys and girls? That's right, we're not in the basement, we're actually in the living room of my wonderful home. My family's out, and I promised you guys, if you guys voted enough, I would do a Who is Payne video. So here we are, we're gonna do this. We're gonna talk about my life, everything that I've been through, everything that I've had to endure, the blessings, the tribulations, the trials, everything. Everything that makes me who I am as a person. A lot of you guys had a lot of questions for me, and I'm more than happy to at least give you guys a little bit of me. And I've always said this, I always want to give a little bit of me to get back a little bit of you, because we are a community at the end of the day, and at the same time, I am first and foremost a community member and a gamer before I am anything else, especially a content creator, right? This is just something that happened by fluke. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about my past and talk about my history. Now, with this video, I'm gonna have a couple pictures on the left side of me here, where I think that will kind of embark some of the story here and what my life is about. It won't have enough to give you the full picture, but I'm gonna try to at least give you guys the most important part. So first off, where am I from? I live currently in Canada. I live in Ottawa, Ontario. I lived here for most of my life, and I have moved to Toronto where I met my beautiful wife, and we moved back to Ottawa, and now we have a family of 2 kids, myself and her. Rest in peace to my cat who passed away. And with that being said, I was born originally though in Russia. So my mom is Russian, my dad is from Afghanistan. So when I was born, it was in '83. My father had actually met my mother in Russia while he was doing university. She was actually a convenience store worker. She was very underage. She was 16 years old when they met, and for 2 years my dad pursued her. And then because he's from Afghanistan, he did not get the approval from my mother's side because they were Russian, of course. And at the time, if you weren't Russian, you weren't part of the equation, right? So my dad did his best to woo her and did so, and they both eloped with the very unimpressed grandparents on my mom's side, and they got married together, and then my mom had me at 18. So yeah, my mom is very, very young, had me as a young mother, and while this was happening, this is when '83 occurred. I was born in November '83. The U.S. and the Russians were having a war at the time. Right, you guys might remember this from history, and this is where the Taliban were hired by the U.S. to fight Russia on their own terrain. So my father, being a military man, not part of the Taliban, but he was part of the Northern Alliance, which was the official army in Afghanistan, was forced to go back and defend his country, which forced my mom and I in a very weird position. So I was born essentially in a war zone. My mom, who lived a very comfortable, happy life with her family back in Russia, was also asked to go to Afghanistan, and we were living in my dad's estate at the time because he was a pretty big person back in the day, with guns blazing every day. You'd find bullet shells everywhere. I've seen people get blown up. I've seen people get killed. I've seen dismemberments. I've seen everything. You name it. Whatever you see in movies is not something I had to go through as a kid. And this went on for quite some time, till about the age of, I'd say, 5 or so. Then my sister was born. And then when the war started to finally taper off a little bit, my mom and I and my sister were actually met with my dad finally, and we escaped. We escaped Afghanistan through very harsh means, where we had to travel through a lot of different terrains, a lot of different countries to get to Vienna, which is where the concentration camps were born. So real quick, I'll just show you guys a couple pictures. So this is my, before I go any further, this is my mom and dad. So that's me in the bottom right there being held by my mom and dad. Again, this will be put up on the video as well. So that's me right there. That's my dad, and that's my mom there. It's crazy. I look at these now, and my son looks identical to me. My God, he looks like my twin. So that's me right there. And then this is me, of course, big lipped and everything. I still got my big ass lips. Look at me. And yes, I do have hair, guys. Look at that. More hair than I do now, God damn it. So we were forced to escape. Went through a lot of different places. A lot of death along the way. Unfortunately, a lot of family members have passed since then. A lot of family members are still stuck in Afghanistan with the war zone and the Taliban still there. And we still constantly try to support them as much as we can. Now, the Russian side, of course, we did not get a chance to see them again for quite some time. We actually ended up getting through a couple different places, where we ended up in Vienna in '89. And in Vienna, we lived in concentration camps. If you don't know what a concentration camp essentially is, a secluded area with campers. And you are essentially an immigrant who lives there with very little means to the access of the world itself or the city, and you're given the bare minimum. So we lived there for quite some time in concentration camps for about a year until my dad could procure us some visas where we moved to America, and then from America we moved to Canada in '89. So the same year we had a whole year there where we had to kind of just scrape by, do as much as we possibly could to get away, and then make our way over to a safer place. So we did get to Canada finally, and it was one of the most insane experiences because I remember like it was yesterday. I got to Canada and I had no idea what was happening. I was throwing up on a plane every single couple minutes. I was so sick to my stomach as a kid. I had no idea what was going on. My sister was crying constantly because she was a baby. And by the time I got here, I remember it was December and it was snowing. And I hadn't seen snow for years because the last time I saw snow was in Russia and I was a baby, and I don't remember that, right? The only fond memories I have of Russia, quite honestly, was like when my grandmother used to take me to her work and I used to go to like a couple like different lessons for, I think it was some sort of karate of some sort, right? Where Afghanistan was all I knew at the time. It was just war, desert, heat. There was no cold. A little bit of rain here and there if we got lucky. So when I moved to Canada, I remember we got into a cab. My dad got into a different cab than my mom and I. My mom and I got into a cab, and I recall this like it was yesterday. It was snowing. And I remember seeing the man in front of me, and it wasn't my father. And that's all I was used to at the time because my father was gone for so long. He had come back, and again, he's gone again, right? And then I'm just like, what the hell? Like, what are we going to do now? This person's going to like kill us. That's all I knew at the time. It was just death, right? So I remember this man driving us, and we couldn't speak a lick of English at the time. And he just drops us off at this strange place, and it was a motel. My dad rented out a motel, and we got the car safely, and that was the first actual sigh of relief I had coming out of a place where all I knew was betrayal and death, right? So Canada was a fresh start for us because every other country, every other place we moved to was just go, 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 go. I apologize if you guys hear a plane. So as soon as we got to Canada, my father settled in, got us a motel, and we moved around quite a bit actually within Canada to where they could find some work. My mom took some lessons to learn English, obviously, and then my dad already spoke a little bit of English, so he was able to get by, and I was registered in school. So this is me. This is me going my first day of school. Don't mind that. That's not a stain on my shirt, by the way. That's just a picture because it's so old. But that was me right there. That was me heading over to school now, and wow, was it an experience. So that right there was like my 5th or 6th day. My first day, my parents put me in school. I was in ESL, right? I didn't speak the language. ESL, if you guys don't know, is an English second language. It's essentially a class for immigrants who don't speak the language. And she put me, God bless my mom, she has no idea how to dress her kids to this day, but she put me inside a buttoned up shirt, like a tuxedo shirt with a bow tie. My first day in school, guys. First day in school. Let me tell you something. When you dress that way, yeah, people look at you different, right? So I got my ass kicked the first day. I was a small kid. I was a very small kid. A lot of the seniors took advantage of that and was like, this kid doesn't speak a lick of English, can't tell the teachers on us. And I came from a part of the world where that doesn't happen. If you guys don't know how it works in the school systems in those countries, for example, when I went to school, for the little small amount of time I could go to school in Afghanistan before all hell broke loose, when you don't cut your fingernails, if you speak in class, they take you to a dark room and they'll beat you with coat hangers. It's one of those things where you have to like really consider what you're doing. To be beaten by coat hangers in a dark room is not something anybody wants to deal with, right? So definitely something that I'll never forget. Stays with me forever. So people in the school system now understand how good you have it. Other countries, they don't play around. So that was something that was interesting. So I went home to my mom and I told her everything. I said, listen, please don't dress me that way anymore. And she went out, God bless her soul, with the little money she had, she went out and got me as much used clothes as possible. And this is one of the first outfits I remember wearing. So that right there changed my life right there. Still got my ass kicked every single day by the same kids. But you know what? I learned to fight back. And winter came along. Yeah, so this is now, like, when I went to school, it was September, obviously fall. Winter came along. And oh man, that changed the landscape of things for me even more. So because they only came with things from Russia at the time, my mom had put me in a bear jacket. I'm not kidding you. It's like, think of what Russians do, right? It's very stereotypical. I had a hat, like a typical Russian hat, right? You wear it like up to the ears and it's like up there. And she put me in a jacket that was fake bear fur. Let me tell you, it was brown when I went to school. It was white when I got back home and I was all red. People whooped my ass for that one. So something else that we learned real quick, don't dress differently than everybody else. So that happened to me as well. So as I was growing though, I gained a lot of friends. I moved into a community housing project called Winthrop Projects. Shout out to Winthrop. I've met a lot of my friends there. A lot of my friends were Jamaicans, Lebanese, tough individuals, tough love. And I grew to love that kind of relationship. And I was always the friend who was too kind. I was always a doormat, and I was just the person that cared about everybody else because I knew what I went through, right? Those individuals, as much as they went through a lot in Canada, had not been through what I've been through because they were born here. And I always took whatever ass kicking I could, whatever shit people threw at me, because I knew what the other side looked like. And it was way worse, right? But anyways, as I grew up, I went to school. My loves for video gaming started at this point. So having my parents buy me my first Nintendo, it was the most groundbreaking thing I've ever seen. Now, before the Nintendo, I had an Atari. Okay, an Atari, if you guys don't remember, was a joystick with 64 game cartridges. I played that to shit. And I remember one of my friends actually had a Nintendo. I was like, what is this? So my parents promised to get me a Nintendo for my birthday. It didn't happen. It was sold out. I remember crying like crazy, but they finally came through during Christmas time. And, Christmas is not something we celebrate with either the Jewish side of the Russians or the Muslim side of the Afghan. But to assimilate with the new society, we decided to. And it was one of the first gifts my parents ever got me. And let me tell you, Super Mario Brothers and Duck Hunt completely revolutionized the way I see games. Fast forward a couple years, and now I'm all of a sudden a gamer, right? Sports and gaming was all I did. That's all I cared about. I went to school, sports, basketball, soccer, football, and yes, not European football. We're talking about soccer, right? And it is football for all my European friends. But I'm talking about American football. And basketball really, really solidified me as someone who was a team player, loved sports, somebody who the sport changed my life. I played it through until college, and I met most of my friends from basketball. But as a gamer, the gamer side made me stabilize. From everything I went through in life, I remember a lot of people asking me, how did I survive? And I'm not kidding you guys, games. Video games really helped me. And so for any parent who's watching this who thinks video games are useless, I can implore you to reconsider that and understand the value it brings, the mental stability, the storytelling, the impact on your agility in general. So there's a lot of crazy things that gaming can do for you as a player and as an individual. So gaming really helped me, especially the Final Fantasy series, and at the end of the day, Chrono Trigger. Chrono Trigger really, really cemented it for me as the greatest game of all time, and it's one game that I played nonstop. So video games changed my life for the better, and I can only tell you that. And here's a picture of me right there with my sister there in my old house, and that was the TV I played my video games on, my Nintendo. So whenever my dad would allow it, I would put my Nintendo on there. I would play Duck Hunt with the Super Mario, and it was like one of the greatest things. Bucky O'Hare was another big one. Metroid. I had a Game Boy for a little while. So my parents did everything for me. God bless their souls. I wouldn't have gotten where I was without them. And a lot of people ask me, how did I make it through all this? I'm telling you, you think I was brave? Imagine being an adult to go through all that, right? Here's another crazy picture of me. I can never take a straight face picture ever in my life. Drove my mom nuts. My son's the exact same way, by the way. So it's just karma working out. So there you guys go. So yeah, as we were growing up, my family started to come from Russia and Afghanistan. So this is my grandmother here who passed away. God bless her soul. That's my mom beside her. That's me and my sister. My grandmother was like a second mother to me. So she came to Canada and dropped everything, her whole life, the kids, her husband and everything, just to be with my mom and us. And she helped us immensely. Like, I cannot imagine my life without my grandmother, and now I have no choice but to imagine the life without my grandmother because she's not with us anymore. It's been a long time. So if you have a grandparent, guys, and you take their love for granted, please go give them a massive hug and let them know you love them, because they're not with us for very long, and the impact they leave on our lives is immense. And I'm talking about immense. My grandmother was like another mother to me, essentially. And if it wasn't for her, I don't think we would have made it as far as we have in life, because she worked so hard and she paved the way for my mom to be the strongest woman I know. So shout out to my mom for always being there. So anyways, as I graduated, I started becoming more popular. Here's my crazy haircut in grade 8. That's right, look at that. Look at that smirk. Happy I graduated, started making some headway. Went to high school and became a very popular kid, surprisingly, after grade 10. Not only because of just my mentality, I guess, but also because I got really heavy into sports and I started hanging out with all the sport kids, and sport kids are usually the popular ones. So took over, graduated high school right there. There's my sister, my mom, and my dad. And then went over to university, and I went to Carleton University, and I did law and psychology there. Graduated that. This is also another picture of my high school with me, right there, my dad and I. And yeah, graduation was crazy. It was crazy. So had a lot of crazy times there. University was actually spent really poorly on my end. Here's a picture of me before I went to university with my dad. You guys can see here, I got some damn hair. Yeah, went to university, spent my entire university career practically playing Final Fantasy 11. Yeah. Almost failed. Almost failed because my entire university was spent playing Final Fantasy 11 and spending my entire time staying at home and watching reruns of lectures. Thank God they had that at Carleton U, and making sure that I caught up and was ready for exams. I did pass, did graduate, got my 2 degrees, thank God, but I could have done a lot better if I wanted to. But nonetheless, it worked out for me because now I am a government employee, very successful with my job. I love what I do. And content creating, how did this begin? So I told you guys I had a little stint. I lived in Ottawa long enough and I just got bored of it. After my first failed marriage, which by the way was going to fail either way, we shouldn't have never got married. I went and decided to move to Toronto to pursue my book. This is my book, by the way, Dark Heart Execution. That's right, I'm an author. So I published my book, met my beautiful wife that I'm currently with now, and we decided to live in Toronto for a little while and then move back to Ottawa again, where we decided to have a family and start a family. We have 2 beautiful kids. I have a son and a daughter, a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old. She just turned 2 this week. We decided, you know what, during the first born, my son, COVID hit. He's a COVID baby, 2019, end of 2019. So around March, COVID hit. And I remember this like it was yesterday. How did content creating start? Well, for me, it was, I started playing Naruto X Boruto Ninja Charge. This is the first Naruto game I ever got into. It's a mobile game. And at this point, I've been playing gachas forever. Like, I've been a whale forever. I've been spending money like an idiot forever. You name it, I've played it for gacha. But I finally decided to play this Naruto game because I love Naruto. I love anime. I'm a huge anime fan. And I remember MRN, shout out to MRN, who's the leader of the guild that I joined. It was ISC at the time. He was like, bro, like, you're really good at this game. You are vocal on Discord. Why don't you try out YouTube? And I was like, why the hell would I do that? I hate social media. And I really do. I hate social media. And here I am doing this now. But he convinced me. And I remember my first video, and I did a summoning video, and I wailed on it. And it was like 30 minutes long. You guys can actually see it on the channel. And it was my first rookie day on a YouTuber. I had 0 subscribers. And that was 3 years ago. And from there, it hit. It drove my wife nuts. Don't get me wrong, it drove her crazy. But at the same time, it was something that I found solace in because I was a brand new father. COVID was around. I couldn't go anywhere. I couldn't see anybody. And for once in my lifetime, I was okay with the virtual setting. I'm a very much an outgoing person. So when I started getting followers and subscribers, and I started talking to people on Discords, and people started to like actually enjoy the content, and I was growing, I started to realize this is a community I can build, not only for the game, but for me as a person, right? Because who knows one day where you end up, right? And people online really took to me, and I can't thank you guys enough, because I did content creating for about 2 years. My son was 2, and my wife was like, you know what? We can't do this anymore. Then we ended up actually having news that we got a second baby. And so I quit content creating. At that time, I was like, you know what? I have to focus on my family. I don't have time for content creating. COVID was finally dying off and people were going back to the office. I was like, I have no time for this. So while this was happening, my book decided to kind of blow up a little bit. And just so you guys are aware, before I came back to content creating, I decided to start using a moniker of Payneblade. So this is how Payneblade was born. A lot of you guys already know this because you watch my live streams, but some of you don't. Payneblade was born because of my book. The actual antagonist in the book is Payneblade Storm, right? You guys can see here, right there. Payneblade Storm, right there, okay? The problem is, every time you start a mobile game, there's never enough characters to fit Payneblade Storm. So Payneblade was always like what I can put. And I was like, you know what, this is a meme at this point for every game. I was like, screw it. We're gonna just go run with this. And I started doing that for every game. And then when I started my channel, I was like, what the hell am I gonna call this channel? So Payneblade was literally how this was born. It was born from this book. So if you guys don't know the book, it's called Dark Heart Execution. It is on Amazon if you guys are interested in reading it. It got really good reviews and I'm very proud of it. This is something that was a bucket list item for me. I wanted to leave my legacy behind in written format where my name is there for my kids to see and be proud of their dad. So this is just another format of me out there, right? And the story is completely fictitious. I wrote it from top to bottom. It's 460 pages. Supposed to be a trilogy, by the way. So I apologize if you decide to read this and if you get through and you're like, damn it, Payne, where's the other 2 books? I had to stop because I had kids. It's really hard to write a book when you have kids. Let me tell you. Plus, when you content create now. So here we are, Payneblade. We're at 65 plus subscribers. Came back a year later, decided to go back into content creating after taking a break. Street Fighter Duel really cemented me back. I had 7,000 subscribers when I joined. I think I lost about 2,000. I was at 9 before I left. Demonetized, completely demonetized. Had to work my ass off. In 1 week, got my monetization back. I put out over 70 videos in a week. You guys know how I do. And this is where the work ethic comes from. And a lot of people ask that, like, how are you able to juggle family, work, and content creating? I have to sacrifice. And it's not my family time that I sacrifice. I sacrifice my own time. So my own time being my gym time, my biking time, my sports time, my time with friends. I'm a very much goal-oriented person. When I put my mind to something, it's 1,010% before I get done. Always been that way. Always. I don't ever put half-assed into anything I do. My style of content creating is very raw. I don't edit. Everything I give you guys from the heart, I give you guys from the soul, and I don't like to adjust or edit that in any way, shape, or form. I try not to at the very least, right? And when I have to, I do it because it just benefits the video overall. But for me personally, it's give yourself first. I'm my brand. The game, I never want a game to make who I am. That's just me. I want me to be the brand, and I think that's the most successful way to do this. So all in all, guys, I'm always community first. I love you guys. I want to thank you guys for watching this. I hope this gives you guys a little bit of insight of who I am as a person, give you a little bit of insight of what influenced me, what I've been through, and why I am the way I am. There's a lot more. My story is way too vast for a small video, but I hope at least this gives you guys some indication of what I've been through, what I go through on a daily basis. I work, I'm a full-time employee, I'm a father, I'm a friend, I'm a husband, I'm a community member, I'm a content creator. I'm somebody who loves the gym, loves to stay active. Put on a little bit of weight recently because I have not been going as much as I usually do. But nonetheless, I try to stay fit, try to be healthy, and I try to be a good role model. So at the end of the day, guys, thank you for watching. This is Payne in a nutshell. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.